Hello, everyone. I am doing an unannounced YouTube live. Usually, if you're following my channel, you usually see me talk about a very specific industry, merchant cash advance, and how do you build a business working from home, and how do you generate income without cold calling and telemarketing and things like that. My entire channel is about educating my followers on that industry. But I want to talk about entrepreneurship today because those who follow me closely have commented a couple of times, and recently a couple of people emailed me because they see bookcases all over my room, and I used to have another office that had like one wall full of books, and people wanted to know what I read. I'm an avid reader, so I do read quite a bit of material from articles to books and things like that. And if you're interested in my channel and what I do, obviously you're entrepreneurial. You're trying to make a difference for yourself or for your family, maybe for your community, for your income, your lifestyle. I'm trying to adjust the camera. Sorry, this is live. And you're interested in learning. So a lot of you guys are really like a sponge. You learn as much as you can from the online sources. Obviously, YouTube is a great source for that. But one part of learning that is irreplaceable is reading. I'm fortunate enough to have picked up this habit of reading consistently. So I have over 1,000 books in my library right now. So I have a habit of reading whenever I get a chance. I live a very busy life, but that's not an excuse. We're all busy, right? So today I decided to share with you the books that I've read multiple times and I've reaped massive benefits. And I thought you guys would enjoy knowing what kind of books, as an entrepreneur, a seven-figure business owner, I'm reading on a consistent basis. And since this question came up a couple of times, I wanted to share that with you because books are relatively inexpensive and it doesn't take a ton of money to build a solid library. And nowadays you can even read books online without having to buy the actual copy. So I'm going to go through 6-7 books here that I piled up. Let me just show you real quick. There you go. So we're going to talk about these books. Some of you might be interested in this. Some of you might find this boring. But again, there was demand for this. I want to put that up. So if you're interested, you can see it. You can get a feel as to where my source of knowledge and expertise is coming from. The first one is, if you're not a follower of Grant Cardone, he has a massive YouTube presence and he has a ton of free content. So I suggest that you follow. I'm a big follower of his content. You might like his style, you might not like his style, but that's not the point. With every person, there's always something, even though little or big, doesn't matter. You can get something from them. Just focus on that. Don't get stuck with his, outwardly personality, because there are certain things that I don't like about him, but doesn't matter. He's accomplished great things. He's been through a great pain in his life. So he's definitely worthy of following up. So I'm going to introduce you to, I think, 2 books from him. The first one is the 10X. The 10X Rule is a great book. The whole premise of the book is, how do you 10X your life? If your income goal is to make $2,000, $3,000 per month now, how do you get it to $20,000? If you're making $20,000 a month, how do you get it to $20,000? How do you put 10X efforts? Because to be honest, everyone wants to be super successful, but not everyone wants to do what it takes to be super successful. It reminds me of a video that I watched of Will Smith. And some guy, Will Smith is an actor. He's a very successful guy, and he's one of my idols. Very inspirational. So they stopped him at an airport, and the guy was like, "Oh my God, you're like my idol. I look up to you, man. You're Will Smith. You're like super successful. I want to be like you. I want to be like you. I want to be so successful. I want to make that much money." And he says in this interview that he's heard that so many times, like thousands of times, from people who said that to him, like they want to be like him. But he says that he knows that 99.9% of those people would not be willing to do what it took to be him. So that's the challenge that we have in our society right now. People want things fast, and people want things without doing much for it. They they think they're entitled to it. So that entitlement mentality is a problem. So this book is teaching you how to surpass any competition if you have any. And believe me, there's really not much of a competition at the top, because once you start separating yourself from other people who are kind of used to mediocre actions and used to mediocre results, and once you get exceptional results and you do exceptional things in your life, competition, you don't really care about the competition, then you get into the mindset of sharing more because there's enough for everyone, right? That's a limited mindset when you say that, oh, if I share, people can take it away from me. So this book gives you a different perception on how do you change, how do you look at things differently? How do you look at things from the eyes of a multi-millionaire who has created different streams of income for his lifestyle? All right. It's definitely a great book. The second one is more inspirational and spiritual, not religious, but spiritual. Dr. M. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled. This is an old book. He has a series of 3 of them. This is the first one. I was introduced to this by my psychology professor at college. And at first, I didn't really want to read it because I come from like hardcore sales, and I didn't consider myself to be like a spiritual, traditional guy. But it totally gives you a different perspective on what happens if you do the things that other people will never do, pretty much. Thus, the road less traveled. So it's really, really important. The third book from Grant Cardone is The Closer. So this is not so much motivational or inspirational or anything like that. This is just hardcore sales. Whatever you're doing right now, you're selling insurance, you're selling mortgages, you're selling whatever you're selling cars, you're selling merchant cash advance, equipment lease, and whatever it is, you need to know how to close the deal, right? So I'm not big on teaching closing strategies, but closing mindset is a different thing. Thinking like a closer, thinking how you can make sure that your client makes the right decision for their businesses. That's what closing is at the end of the day. They finally come to conclusion that what you're offering them will improve their business or their lifestyle somehow, either financially or personally or emotionally. That's what a sale is. It's an exchange of values, pretty much, right? So you offer something, and the customer thinks that that's somehow valuable to what they do, and they agree. If you do not do a good job doing that, thus closing, the customer will not see the value. So if you are, even if you don't think you're lacking in this area, I highly suggest that you keep this book close to you. The other one is this is if you're trying to learn online marketing. Like a lot of people want to carry their business online because, let's be honest, online is not going anywhere, right? So online marketing is here to stay, the internet. I don't know anyone else who's better than Russell Brunson when it comes to Russell Brunson. He's the owner of ClickFunnels, and he owns a bunch of companies. Expert Secrets is all about how do you position yourself as an authority in your business, in your industry. So for those of you guys who are selling merchant cash advance and complaining that there's just so much competition and it's cutthroat and things like that, it's really not. You just don't know how to differentiate yourself from your customers, and you have to do that online, right? So for that reason, I highly recommend this book. Go through that, and you'll be addicted to Russell Brunson and what he does. He's not teaching anything that he doesn't do himself. So I highly suggest that. The next one is, people have been asking me about a book on email marketing. Like if you have a list of people that you need to email, whether you're doing cold email or warm email or hot email, whatever you're doing, follow up, Traction is that book. It's like the email marketing for the modern age. And this is not just coming from a textbook teaching. This is coming from a guy who's actually done it for hundreds of companies and millions of email, test after test, and various industries, various products, different price points, anything you can think of. This is like a scientific study, but it's not like a scientific paper. So don't think that it is complicated, difficult to read. It is an easy read, but with this book, you have to apply as you go, okay? Or if your learning style requires that you read it multiple times, so that's how I learn. I skim through the whole book. I come back, I read it again, then I start applying it. Traction is definitely that book if you're getting into high impact email marketing. All right. So let's see if I left anything out. I don't have the cover for this, but the name of the book is One Thing, which most people, especially if you're hanging out in YouTube, you have this problem that we get distracted all the time. You find yourself looking for something, then 10 minutes later, you're watching clips from some 10-year-old movies, you're watching funny cats, and you're wondering, how the heck did I end up here? Like, what was I looking for originally? We get distracted because we're bombarded by communication messages from all sources. Like if you're not looking at YouTube, you're looking at your phone. And if you're not looking at your phone, you're on Facebook on your screen, or someone is texting you. So everyone is begging for your attention, and not always for the good purposes. This book teaches how to focus your energy on one thing that matters the most and design your life around it. Do the most important thing first, then categorize all the other things, whether you need to do that or not, or delegate it or do it. I think Brian Tracy had a concept years ago, 3Ds of getting stuff done. The first D is, if there's something you need to do it. If that's something someone else can do, delegate it. If it is something that you don't have to do, delete it. So 3Ds of time management. This is not much on time management, but this is more on how do you get to your goals really, really fast when you focus your energy, because there's just so much power on focusing your energy on one thing. I'm trying to see the author's name because I am bad with remembering authors' names. But the one premise of the book that is repeated over and over again is this proverb: if you chase two rabbits, you will not catch either one. And that's what's happening in our daily life every single day. We're chasing too many rabbits, and we're surprised that we couldn't catch any of them, because you're not really focusing your energy on one area, one thing, and getting deep. We're being conditioned by internet and television and social media that we need to be everywhere. And we think that's the thing to do. But the problem is, if you spread yourself really thin, you have no depth. You know a lot about a bunch of little things, but you have no expertise. And our world needs a lot more experts in certain things. So this book will teach you how to do that. I mean, I love that saying. I had it written on a notepad here that I just reminded me again. If you're chasing more than one rabbit, you're not going to catch either one of them. That's just really important. But I think it would be really fair if I can find the author's name, because this guy deserves the credit. Gary Keller. All right. Gary Keller is the author of One Thing. Bill, hey buddy, the book name is The One Thing. This is a great book. I suggest that you check that out. Anyone who feels like they have potential for so much more, but they get stuck on doing things that it really has no effect on their business and in their lifestyle, you got to figure out a way to stay focused. And you're welcome, buddy. Great to have you. So yeah, those are a couple of different books. I mean, I have a ton. We have the most basic books that if you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a classic. The Magic of Thinking Big is a classic. So Robert Kiyosaki's books on entrepreneurship is good, like How to Be an Entrepreneur and things like that. The Quadrants, if you haven't watched that. So, but these are a little further than that. So if you haven't read the basics books that you need to be reading, I suggest you do that first. Oh yeah, this guy is also amazing. I'm just looking at my bookcase here. Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. This is also an amazing book by Robert Cialdini. You can also see, I don't know if he has a YouTube channel, but he has a ton of videos on YouTube He has amazing concept about influence and persuasion. How do you persuade people? Because you really don't. You just have them believe in what you're saying because of your overall presence and how much knowledge and expertise you have on one topic, and the people that you're interacting with are highly influenced by your overall the way that you're handling yourself and you're talking about the topic and things like that. Jeffrey, yeah, this book, Influence, yeah, it's an amazing book. A couple of the things, if you're into marketing, like these are not, you're not going to go through this at one sitting, but this is like a reference book. Cash advertising is good. Like this is more like if you're really into running marketing campaigns and selling things, certain phrases to use and certain strategies. It's a quick read, but I keep this on the side, like somewhere visible all the time. Chat Holmes is another legend. The ultimate sales machine. Creating sales systems was his specialty. So this is a great book for that. He passed away, unfortunately, at a younger age, but the book is pretty good. This book is only good if you are building teams. I shouldn't say that. That's a bad way to put it. So it's teaching you how to have focus, energy, and how to apply to building teams. So if your goal is to have an office with employees and teams and members and things like that, like deep work, the power of having yourself and having your employees focus on one idea, one motto, one culture, and the power, explosive growth of that. And you see that in companies that had exponential growth, like Salesforce had that. Like Salesforce, I knew the owner of Salesforce. I met him at one of the Tony Robbins events, and at the time it was a small company. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar company. You know, Shopify, Wix, and all of that. Any company that's like owner operated and they have that culture, they have the principles taught here in this book. So again, it's not, if you're not running a massive company, you might not enjoy this. The references might seem a little boring, but if you have the idea of building a company yourself, you can certainly check this out. The other book that I'm reading right now is from Jordan Peterson. This guy is very controversial, but he's a scientist. I've studied science. I'm a biology and chemistry major. 12 Rules for Life, an Antidote to Chaos. So he has a ton of interviews online. You can definitely check him out. I don't have any opinions of him. I'm still reading the book, so I'm not saying this is recommended. I just want to share with you what I'm reading currently. So hopefully this was valuable and you did enjoy this. If you want me to introduce more books based on the demand, I can do it. Again, I have no shortage of books. I believe in the principle of if you fill yourself in, you can share with others. You have to have overflowing knowledge before you can help other people. And they can't just come from me, right? It has to come from other people who have done great things with their lives. And even the books that I introduced so far, like only this many, but the accumulated knowledge on this is probably a couple of centuries. So how can you ignore that and believe that you would somehow know more than these people collectively? So I have an innate need to feed myself so I can pass it to my students and other people who are interested in my work. Hey, Patrick, thanks for great to have you, buddy. All right, so this is the end of the session. If you have any, unless you have any questions, this is going to be posted as a regular video. Once this is done, let me know and we can go through more books based on the specific topics and things like that. Take care, everyone. Good to have you. Bye-bye.